Out of my mind. Riley and Spike deal with their respective problems from their involvement with the initiative.
We open in a cemetery where Buffy is acting like a cat on top of a building instead of her normal routine of drinking Starbucks while complaining very loudly about how she wishes she could have a normal life.
She runs into Riley, and then Spike shows up, and after they kill all the vampires besides Spike, Buffy tells Spike to go away, but he notices that Buffy is also annoyed by Riley's presence.
Aren't we all?
Buffy tells Riley she's not in the killing mood anymore, but jokingly suggests they could still kill Spike, but then they just leave him there, and when they walk off, Spike says he's going to kill the Slayer and drink her blood, and then he falls into an open grave, which is a joke that has already been used in this show before.
Yeah, and freaking turtles in time.
Well, okay, only you would know it from that.
At school the next day, Willow is overjoyed that she and Buffy are having a debate about a college lecture and not about which Starbucks drink is the best.
Buffy says Giles has her training a lot, and she's getting back to thinking that maybe she doesn't want to do that so much.
So we made it less than one full episode to get to the complaining again, which was not a surprise, even though that huge speech she gave about how she was going to dedicate her life to this and that, whatever.
Yeah, the writers don't have a very long memory. As they leave, it seems like Sarah Michelle Gellar was trying to go the wrong way, and Allison Hannigan had to push her in the right direction. I don't know if you noticed that.
I did not.
Okay.
I usually check out of a scene before it actually ends. Meanwhile, Xander is helping Giles with the magic shop renovations, while Tara and Anya just kind of walk around.
Buffy and Willow show up to get in the way, and Willow makes a comment about newt eyes, and how they're better than other amphibian eyes, but back in Witch, she was using frog eyes instead of newt eyes.
You pay way more attention to this show than I do.
And if you go back and watch that video, it turns out that that related to mustard seed anyway.
You pay way more attention to our videos than I do. Tara says it would be cool to have a psychic employed in the store, and Willow suggests that Tara herself do it. But Tara, in her insecurity, says no way.
Giles takes Buffy to the back, where Riley promptly tackles her.
Instead of providing her with a delicious Starbucks drink.
Okay, I hope your other ones are better than that one.
Cheetos was getting jealous, man. They were like, hey, don't you have any other shitty foods you can talk about? And I said, yeah.
Buffy expresses displeasure, but for some reason doesn't break up with Riley. And she's really impressed with how Giles has turned the whole area into a training area.
Alright, two things stood out to me about this room. One, there's that target directly fixed to the wall. And Buffy has super strength. Any object she hurls or physical action she takes is going to put either a hole through that wall or take it down completely. Bad decision on Giles' part. Two, there's a straw guy. What is she possibly going to do with the straw guy?
Yeah, my note just says they have a literal scarecrow. Why? Xander does say that he's the one who put it together, so I don't know, maybe he's just that stupid. I hope they show her doing something with it later, but I don't know. And she makes a reference to Q.
You're like my fairy godmother and Santa Claus and Q all wrapped up into one.
And I was confused because I thought she meant Q from Star Trek, but then she clarifies.
Q from Bond, not Star Trek.
Riley is super excited to spar with Buffy, but Buffy pretty much ignores him. And so did I.
Something creeps up to Spike's crypt while he's watching soap operas and knocks on the door. And it turns out to be Harmony, who is afraid because she saw Buffy patrolling. She tells Spike that she is now Buffy's arch-nemesis, but Spike is skeptical.
But he humors her and says the only way for Harmony to be safe is to kill Buffy, and he will help her do it.
Riley and Buffy bang, and then they bang some more, and that's the scene.
While downstairs, Joyce is preparing breakfast for Dawn, and she looks at Dawn and doesn't seem to know who she is before she collapses on the floor.
And Dawn was making comments about trying to make a substitute teacher cry, which made her very relatable. And I wondered if Joyce dropping the plates was supposed to be a reference to Buffy's dream from Surprise, or if it was just a coincidence.
Knowing how these writers write, I would say no, absolutely not.
That's probably true. Buffy and Riley head to the hospital, where Dr. Ben says they don't know what caused it yet.
And I immediately suspected that this guy was going to be a recurring character because A, he was young, and B, he talks like a recurring character, meaning his first line is a dumb joke.
And they actually said his name.
I'm just waiting in anticipation for some sort of weird love triangle thing to pop up between him and some of these other characters.
And while he's talking, Don uses a stethoscope to listen to everyone's heartbeats and notices that Riley's is abnormally fast. But I thought she was going to notice something about Buffy when hers was so slow when she's supposed to be worried about her mom. I thought that was a little weird.
I was hoping it was going to be the doctor and it would be some sort of demon heartbeat. After the commercial, Riley's had his heart checked, and the doctor begs him to stay overnight, but he says no way.
He tells Buffy that that's normal for him after being experimented on by the Initiative, and when Joyce comes in saying she's fine, they all leave. But Buffy is not satisfied.
Later, Willow seriously suggests calling the Initiative to ask them about it, which is probably one of the stupidest thing any of these characters has ever said, and it's coming from one of the smartest ones.
At least formerly. And Buffy has to be the one to point out that the Initiative doesn't even exist anymore, and they're not exactly easy to get a hold of anyway. And the whole time, Dawn keeps butting in with inaccurate facts, in quotation marks, about Fidel Castro, which was kind of weird. It seemed like maybe one of the writers had heard those supposed facts and was like, dude, I'm going to stick these in there, but I looked them up and they're not exactly true.
Of course, they would say they're not true.
And Buffy says the government is always listening in, so Dawn suggests saying something in a way where she knows they'll hear her.
So Buffy goes to Riley's house, apartment. Where does he actually live?
Yeah, I had that question too.
And she picks up the phone and says,
Riley's in trouble. He needs help.
and then she just hangs up. What?
I mean, she knows they're listening in because there was that very obvious clicking sound when she picked it up.
Yeah, maybe she just picked up the receiver and somebody said, hello. Oh, shit, don't say anything. Beep, or whatever.
And of course, all she had to do was tape an X on the window and the government would show up, but she didn't think of that.
Wow, what a weird reference. We cut to Riley in the middle of filming a Gatorade commercial.
It's not where you come from, it's where you're going. It's not what you drive, it's what drives you. It's not what's on you, it's what's in you. Gatorade. Is it in you?
And I wondered who he was playing basketball with. Just some random people, I guess.
It's called a pickup game.
I mean, there's only like 3 people there, so were they going to try to play like 2-on-1? And then he's confronted by idiot number 2 and some initiative goons. And they have an unintentionally funny conversation where idiot number 2 tries to convince Riley to get surgery on his heart.
So Buffy's dumbass plan actually worked?
Of course it did. And Riley says that since idiot number 2 is still on the inside, he doesn't trust him. But idiot number 2 says he doesn't have a choice. So they fight, and Riley gets away, showing that the initiative hasn't lost their edge of incompetence.
Later, Buffy is chastising idiot number 2 for letting Riley get away, and he says that Riley is stronger and doesn't feel pain, but his heart can't take it. He also says that they've been at him for weeks about it. So does that mean that Buffy's plan didn't work and they've already been tracking Riley?
Oh, that's a good question. In that previous scene, it seemed like the first time they had confronted him. So maybe they were sending him things in the mail that he just wasn't reading. I don't know.
Yeah, that seems like a great initiative plan. Like, don't leave a paper trail by leaving a paper trail.
And I wondered why the government cares so much about him if he's not involved with them anymore. Why would they care what condition he's in? And idiot number 2 tells Buffy where to take Riley, and Buffy says, okay.
Later, the gang is speculating where Riley could be, and they split up. And Buffy suspects Riley could be in the initiative caves for some reason. And since Spike knows those caves, apparently, she goes to his crypt, where he and Harmony are playing 20 questions, which was pretty funny.
They hear that GoldenEye sound effect that the show insists on using in places where it doesn't fit.
She's found me.
And Harmony hides before Buffy busts in. Buffy tells Spike that she'll pay him to find Riley, and she tells him where to take him in the hospital. And when Spike asks for half the money up front, she tears it all in 2 and gives him half.
So I was hoping for at least one scene at the end of this episode where Spike is sitting with a bunch of money and some scotch tape.
I was thinking that would make him less willing to help, because now those bills aren't going to work in vending machines. And Spike doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's just going to go into Walmart.
Well, you know, in 2000, bills didn't work in vending machines half the time anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a whole generation of people who will never know the frustration of putting in a very crisp dollar bill and having that machine just push it back out.
Oh man, it's activating my PTSD just thinking about it. I'm reliving my hunger of not being able to eat those Cheetos because I couldn't get the money to get accepted.
Well, if you go to Starbucks, you can talk to a human being and get your delicious mocha frappuccino thing.
That sounds hard. I don't know.
I don't go to Starbucks. I don't know. Thanks for sponsoring us.
Idiot number 2 tells the doctor that Riley should be brought in soon. But then Harmony and Spike bust in and knock idiot number 2 out.
And Spike demands the doctor remove his chip. Willow and Tara are at the burnt-out high school, which is still burnt out and just sitting there. So how many seasons has it been now? Where are these kids going to school? And is that giant hell portal still there from that other episode where those demons were throwing themselves in?
Of course it is. And Willow uses a spell to light things up because they were too stupid to bring flashlights. Buffy finds Riley in the cave, punching a wall and saying he doesn't feel it and likes being so powerful.
Punching a wall. I have all this unlimited power and I'm just gonna punch a rock.
Yeah, and Buffy tells him he can't stay that strong, but Riley says he doesn't want to be fixed because then he'll be a normal guy and Buffy won't like him anymore.
Man, it takes so much willpower not to just turn these episodes off. Buffy tells him that he's being as dumb as a s'more frappuccino from Starbucks.
She tells him that she opened up to him more than anyone else, and it wasn't because he was stronger than a normal person, and no matter what, she's going to take him to the doctor. And he finally agrees, saying that loving her is the scariest thing he's ever done, which was actually plausible.
The doctor is currently working on Spike's brain, while Harmony is being annoying.
Buffy and Riley find idiot number 2, who is unfortunately still alive, and he tells them that Spike and Harmony took the doctor. And Buffy says this time she's going to actually kill Spike. And I was a little bit skeptical because it hasn't happened yet, so I don't know.
It's like at Starbucks, when they tell you your drink is going to be ready next. I'll believe it when you call out my name.
The doctor tells Harmony that she can't smoke there, and she says, yeah, says who?
Oh God, sorry, didn't see the sign.
The doctor says he removed Spike's chip, and Spike is very excited to kill Buffy when she and Riley show up.
And when Spike and Harmony transform to their vampire forms, the image freezes at the end, which was weird, because that doesn't usually happen.
Utilizing those Hanna-Barbera cheap techniques. I'm surprised Spike's mouth wasn't the only thing moving while the rest of his face was frozen.
Don't give them ideas for the next season. Spike tells Buffy that he is chip-free, and Buffy says that means she gets to kill him, even though, of course, there was nothing stopping her before.
Yeah, from the first moment she met him.
Harmony accidentally shoots Riley in the leg with the crossbow, and they all start fighting.
But when Spike goes to bite Buffy, it appears his head still hurts, even though it didn't seem to react when he jumped off a table to tackle her.
And Spike finds that the supposed chip that was removed was just a penny that the doctor put in the tray.
But Harmony was watching, and she said that she could see the chip in Spike's brain while he was operating.
Yeah, I had that question too. She did turn away when the doctor put the thing in the tray. Riley suddenly grabs his chest and collapses, and Spike and Harmony take the chance to run away, instead of taking advantage of that.
And Spike is lamenting that Buffy is everywhere, and there's nothing he can do about it, even though he could just leave and go anywhere else on the planet.
The doctor works on Riley and gets him fixed, and Buffy tells Riley she's still there for him, and then immediately leaves to go check on Joyce.
Idiot number 2 tells Riley that there's no reason for Riley to stay in Sunnydale, and that he belongs with the Initiative, which didn't make sense on any level.
But since Riley is also an idiot, it's obvious that he's thinking about it.
Buffy golden eyes her way into Spike's crypt, saying she's finally going to kill him, and he tells her to do it. But because this is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, they just start making out. And thankfully it was just Spike's dream. But because this show has proven to be dumb enough, Spike wakes up and acts like it's going to become a real thing on the show. So it's going to become as pointless, nonsensical, as stupid as the joke dream. But it's going to be real. So it's not a joke.
Okay, yeah, I have stuff in my wrap-up about that.
That would be like me dreaming about Starbucks making my double chocolatey ribbon crunch Carmachino correctly, and then waking up and they actually do it. I said whole milk 3 times, and make it hot. Hotter. I want that bitch so fucking hot.
Okay. Is that the end?
If you work at Starbucks, you know that's never the end.
Out of my mind. Overall,
Riley was incredibly annoying this entire episode, more than usual. And if the initiative is always watching and listening, and they seemingly want Riley to come back, why did it take Buffy calling them to find out something was wrong with Riley, if her plan actually worked? Wouldn't they be aware that he had his heart checked in the hospital and the doctor said, "Damn, your heart is about to explode, and I'm going to put it in my chart"? Wouldn't the initiative have access to his chart? And I'm so glad, and this is sarcastic, that Riley's whole insecurity complex was based around his dick. That's just what we needed. The only surprising part was that it wasn't Buffy who created this artificial drama, it was Riley this time. And in the end, when Buffy reassured him that everything was still cool after his operation, I have no doubt that he is not convinced, and having idiot number 2 tell him Buffy isn't worth it would make everything even more pointless if Riley is the one that ends up leaving her, which will probably happen, and then Buffy will be crying and shit and whatever. It was really funny watching idiot number 2 try to act. It looked like stringing all those words together took real effort on his part, so kudos to him. I would be surprised in real life if he even remembers the name he gave that barista for his drink when they call it out. So the episode title was in reference to Spike, yes?
It could also be Riley. I don't know.
So I was thinking Spike, and again, he can just leave this town. His whole lamenting that Buffy is everywhere and there's nothing he can do is completely false. And his whole arc of having his chip removed, not actually amounting to anything, made his part in this episode completely pointless. He is exactly where he was before, except now he's had his brain cut open again. And having Harmony show up here did not work. It did work that last episode, or 2 episodes, whenever that was, but she is not the type of character that should always be around. She should be around when there's nothing else going on. It would be like if Loaxana was in every episode of Star Trek. The only thing I was genuinely interested in is Joyce's situation. I would have thought that her actions would warrant a little more of a reaction from the other characters. I can tolerate that Buffy was worried about Riley too, but the other characters, did they know what happened to Joyce? Because Dawn knew at least. You would think the other characters would know.
Well, Willow was there too.
Yeah, okay, so they do know, and they didn't really seem to care that much. Joyce's thing was the only interesting part of this episode, but it was not enough to get it up to a good grade. I gave this one a D.
Okay. I gave it a C-, but you're really starting to maybe make me think that's too high. Bringing back all the stuff with the initiative is only good because it means they're not just ignoring everything that happened last season, but I could have done without idiot number 2 coming back. At least this means there's a chance that they'll kill him off. So it could turn out well.
Maybe they'll combine him with idiot number 1's body, and then they'll do a too bad sort of thing.
Okay, I can't tell if you don't remember that you made that joke before, or if you're actually trying to make it again.
Did I make it before?
Yes.
I know I made the trap jaw joke.
No, I put up the thing with the 2 heads. You don't remember? Do you legit not remember that?
I legit don't remember that.
Okay.
Looks like I'm funny in every season.
It was very obvious that they came up with the whole Riley's heart subplot in this one episode and hadn't thought it all out beforehand. It was never mentioned before, and it was resolved by the end of the episode, despite idiot number 2 claiming that they had been trying to help him for some time. And of course, Riley's explanation for brushing all that off and trying to keep going was really stupid. And the government keeping an eye on him didn't make a lot of sense either. It would make more sense for them to be keeping an eye on Buffy because, she's the Slayer and everything, especially since Riley already rejected them and is basically just, ejected at this point. Joyce's medical issues got very glossed over in comparison to Riley's, which also didn't make sense. I hope they explain a bit more about that next episode. It was weird that nobody really seemed to care that much. There was one scene of them talking to her in the house, and seeming to just act like everything was okay, but we don't even know what was wrong with her in the first place. And of course, my complaints about Buffy not just killing Spike are more glaring than ever, especially since they literally stated that multiple times in this episode, it seemed like. And since he didn't get the chip removed, and given how the episode ended, it seems like the writers are still going to try to keep him around in the same way that they've been doing, where it's not really going to make sense, but he's going to be there anyway. Is Harmony the big villain for the season? Like you said, she seems to keep showing up, and I could get behind that. She was definitely the highlight of this episode, so at least there was one. I feel like they could give her a whole arc where she tries to prove herself by coming up with some huge plan that of course gets out of hand and leads to much hilarity.
Well, didn't she already do that?
Yeah, but I'm thinking like a world-ending thing with some kind of huge evil whatever. Unfortunately, I doubt that's where things are going. I know you said she shouldn't show up all the time, but I actually would be okay with that. Especially since her presence makes more sense than Spike being there all the time. What they should have done is kept him in the background of Harmony and him trying to use her, to kill Buffy, and have that be why it never happens, because Harmony's incompetent and, Spike keeps out of the way. But that's not what they did in this episode, so I don't know. Maybe going forward, they'll start using higher quality ingredients when they put these episodes together, instead of relying on the 2-month-old oat milk that's sitting in the back of the fridge.
Actually spell her name right. Tired of seeing Reverse Angel written on the cup.